Julian, it's so good. It's good to have you here. Hey, you were going to talk about it. You being from New York City and everything. Julian, how old were you the first time that we met? Did we meet on the street when you were like really young as well, or was that do you remember? Because I know I met Nick.
That rings a bell.
Yeah, I met Nick when he was like 14 or 15 on the street, and he was a 120 fan, and we were talking, and then I ran into him, probably you guys later on.
I don't know if I was
pretty
there.
hammered, but it was a long time ago, But I know Nick had said that, but yeah. So let's talk about the new Voidz record. So this is cool. It's the third one. How long have you guys been working on this one?
I guess you were kind of like a Bigfoot. Like there'd be sightings in New York. How long? On and off for 5 years.
Yeah. Is it one of those things where you guys would start working on a song and you'd get together with the guys, or how often? How are you? Were you doing the production process and writing?
I mean, we worked on other things, and we didn't work for 5 years straight. Obviously.
Yeah.
Just in pockets. I mean, I think we started before the pandemic, so that's why the time and the disarray. But so it took a while to kind of get it all together. But a normal amount of time, probably like 4 or 5 months total.
Yeah, which is it's not that bad really when it comes down to when it gets down to recording the record and having the time to do so. So I just love that you've been out here. It was so great to run into you at the last dinner party show as well.
Yeah,
which was really cool. And I appreciate that you've been listening to the station, because it means a lot.
Oh yeah, it's very comforting to hear you.
Yeah.
This is a wonderful layer. It's very high ceiling.
Yeah, it's a cool studio, right? I mean, it's
cool. It's like a superhero crystal.
I got to be honest with you. I love being in the studio and doing a show live and kind of thinking about, what's the next song I'm going to play or something like that. Or I get into a vibe where I'm doing songs about tourists or feelings or something, or coming up with themes, or just one song will make you think of another. And I think it's kind of a lost art in radio, and that's what's cool about 88.5 SoCal sound, which I love. But, so tell me about Prophecy of the Dragon. We've been playing this song, and I love this cut.
It was a riff that, Beardo in the band came up with. He was playing into like a drum machine, so it was kind of, like metal riff with drum machine vibe, which, can go wrong many times. But I felt like, I don't know, it was right. And so we developed it, and then the chorus, it was like maybe it was a jam we did, but it was kind of a stranger, almost Doorsy. Reminded me of like what's that song off Soft Parade?
Tell All the People.
Yes, the River Knows.
Oh, Yes, the River Knows. Oh, that's a great song. Waiting for the Sun.
Yeah, so it's just kind of a genre bashing together song. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm going to play it right now, though.
Okay.
And then we're going to play some other things that you picked as well. But here it is. This is new Voidz, and this song is called Prophecy of the Dragon. It's Julian Casablancas in the studio with me today. Prophecy. What did I say?
No, I was just saying it with a silly voice.
Okay.
Prophecy.
For a minute, I was saying, Prophecy
of the Dragon. No.
Yeah. It sounds like a character there. Let's check it out right now. The Voidz on SoCal Sound. The Strokes right there from the new Abnormal. And Bad Decisions are right here on 88.5 the SoCal Sound. I'm so happy to have my friend here, Julian Casablancas. It's great to have him in. This new record from the Voidz is something I'm just really excited about. And we heard from Like All Before You, the song called Prophecy of the Dragon, which I love the guitars in that. And so thanks for coming to the station and coming to hang out and DJ and play some of your favorite songs. And I think what's really cool too is, here we go. I had to change the mic. And just the fact that there's just so many things you like. So whenever I run into you, like, we talk about music. That's what we talk about, which is really cool. Last time we saw each other before this was at the last dinner party show. Mm-hmm. How'd you like the show that night? Yeah.
I was pretty impressed. I gotta be honest, I got there right at the end.
Yeah, it's happened to me, believe me.
Thanks for putting me on the spot, because I don't want to.
But you're honest anyway.
But I did catch their kind of, they played, I think it was like 2 or 3 songs, but I caught their, their big hit.
Yeah, Nothing Matters.
Yeah. And yeah, it was weirdly, like their performance was so on. I mean, they were like synchronized, they were doing some dancing. They just seemed like a ragtag band, but they were so professional sounding. It was almost like a Broadway rendition of a famous song done perfectly. Yeah, it sounded the same as the record, but live, I'm actually just confused at how it was so perfect.
Yeah, I think is it you or was it one of my other friends who was saying to me, hey, I was looking and watching to make sure everything was actually live because it sounded so good. Like in kind of checking out each musician. I don't know if it was you or one of my other
like
friends.
She was singing live.
She was. I mean, that's the amazing thing.
It didn't feel like suspiciously perfect. It was just, I don't know. Sometimes you see a band and you're just kind of there's this subtle, even if it's super fast, like adjustment moment of you're seeing it live and you're like and it kind of it wasn't processing. It was like
I've had
too perfect.
Yeah.
So I mean that was great. Maybe it's just because they were playing with a metronome and they were tight. I think it was the last show of their tour. So
yeah,
I think I mean probably playing with a metronome.
Yeah, and that Sparks cover they did was so cool, too. That This Town Ain't Big Enough for both of us, which they're obviously Susie and the Banshees fans, too, because she did that song.
It's cool. I missed that. But
yeah,
it was amazing.
Yeah, but it's great that they did it. I'll have to play it for you sometime, which will be really cool. Let's talk about a couple of the bands that were really important to you in your life. Now, the Doors are like one of the first bands that you got exposed to as a young kid, like 7, 8, or 9, right?
No. It was late. I kind of got into music later. It was like 13, 14. My stepdad gave me a tape, Best of the Doors. Yeah, that was the first. I still think as a band, because, there's some artists that you wanted to talk about and stuff, but just if I had to pick a band, and I was just listening to it the other day, played out songs because I listened to it so much, like L.A. Woman or something, and just... Yeah. How that song, just every single riff and drum beat and keyboard and the back and forth, even though Jim Morrison is this, guy and his lyrics and voice and all that is insane and amazing, and I'm a super fan. It's really like they're like a super team. And so as a band, I think they're one of the best, and they were, just decades ahead of their time in many ways, and, jazzy, but also very like with the trends of their time, so I think people didn't even realize how kind of iconic they were gonna be. Maybe maybe some did, but
but I think a lot of people probably didn't know because of all the things that were going on at that time, right? I mean, with the Vietnam War and a lot of bands coming out, and but they still don't sound like anything else. You ever notice that? Like that was the thing that was really interesting about them.
Yeah, and so many people have tried to sound like him,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess me included. But
you've done
no one comes close.
But he was great, and I know you love all the stuff. I mean, so many of the records are great. And you picked the song. You picked Love Street, and I think this is just one of the best songs. It was the B-side to Hello, I Love You, actually, but written about And have you gone in the the Laurel Canyon, like the store there, the Laurel Canyon General Store? That's up there by, because that's where like his house was, where he used to live with Pamela Corson.
Oh no,
up behind it. So they used to have the actual handwritten lyrics in there. I don't know if they still do.
Oh wow.
And some pictures because he lived in the house up and above that.
Wow.
And
cool.
and he wrote about Pamela. Their very tumultuous relationship, but but it's amazing. It's such a cool song. So we'll play that right now. And that's where, with the line when he goes, there's a store where the creatures meet. I wonder what they do in there. Summer Sunday in a year. That whole thing when he does that spoken word is so great. And it's about that store. The store still exists. It's right on the corner there. And there's a really cool Italian restaurant under it. But in the meantime, so we'll play that right now. Some of Julian Casablancas' favorite stuff. From Waiting for the Sun, here's the Doors and Love Street on the SoCal Sound. I think we decided we're going to have to do like a 7-part show and actually sit there and analyze and dissect every one of the artists. But we just heard Love Street. I'm here with Julian Casablancas from the Voidz and the Strokes. And we were talking about, you interviewed Ray too, right? And Robbie Krieger, you said. Yeah, so tell me, was that a good experience?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it was a dream come true. There was like technical difficulties at first, and Ray was pretty intense.
Yeah, he can be.
I don't know if he's like living up to his persona that was portrayed in the movie or what, but it was great.
Yeah.
It was funny. One time I remember I mentioned how Universal Mind was one of my favorite songs, but all I knew was the live performance of it, and asked him what the deal was, and he was like, "What an obscure question! Like what?" And then at the end of it, he kind of he tells me that oh yeah, it was my mom's favorite song too, and so I don't know. It's just fun, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, you hear the stories. One of the times I asked him, why the early demos were him on piano, like, the first demos of the first 5 songs. And he's like, I couldn't afford an organ. And he told me this great story about how he goes, yeah, well, we got a singles deal with Columbia. And he said, well, you're going to give us a bunch of money, right? And they're like, no. They go, well, how about some equipment? So that's all right. We'll pay for your equipment. And that's how he ended up getting the organ that he played all those years, but it wasn't on the early demos that those guys had. But they never released anything on Columbia. It never happened. But
right.
I bet those Elektra records. But also there was this crazy thing, Julian, where I was hosting this event with like Lenny Kravitz, the Doors of Tomorrow. So it was the Doors with Ian Astbury singing, and a bunch of other people at Roseland in New York City. And this thing happened where he Ray got mad because Ben Folds was going to play the other keyboard for Riders on the Storm, right? In L.A. Woman, he came on stage. But when he showed up, he was just in a T-shirt and some jeans. And Ray said, what are you doing coming like this and, not dressing up like... And, so he chewed out Ben. And so Ben later that night, when it came time to do his solo during Riders on the Storm, did this wild, incredible piano thing. And just like Ray was looking at him like, oh my God, that was just kind of his way of saying, look, I can play keyboards too, like you, that kind of thing. But it was,
keyboard off.
It was a keyboard off. It was unbelievable. And I remember, he and I actually did talk to Ray Manzarek about, them finding Jim in the bathtub and stuff like that. And there was all kinds of stuff that was,
he was
said.
in Paris?
Yeah. No, he wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
But I'd heard, I told him about some of the different things I read, and he was like, I remember, I was, just some of the weird theories, the ones in the club in the bathroom of dying, on the toilet, after snorting some heroin, or the other story about, Pamela keeping him on ice. And he said to me, he goes, Matt, she didn't keep him on ice. I mean, Jim's body, it was just this, but it was pretty funny because he said it. And he was right, because you know what? Ice cubes are not a big part of the drinking scene over in Europe as well, right? There's only like one ice cube in each drink.
That is true. They would never have found enough ice.
Yeah, where would you find it? It's not like you go to a club or a restaurant here and it's like there's this big vat of
like
ice.
The Columbo twist at the end.
Yeah, exactly. It was just nuts. Let's talk about Velvet Underground and your love for them. And by the way, I'm here with Julian Casablancas from the Voidz and the Strokes, and we're excited about that show coming up, which you got to go see. That's happening at the Orpheum on the 16th. It's going to be a great opportunity to see all these new tracks from like All Before You, which is great, and stuff from Tyranny, like from the other albums as well, which I'm psyched.
Yeah.
So
and Crack Cloud they're a cool band.
Yeah. You've always been a guy who's always been looking for new music to, just not only to check out for yourself to enjoy, but to turn people on to, which I think is cool. Tell me about Crack Cloud.
Just an inspiring, new, cool band. I mean, I guess they're not even new anymore, but they're still, I guess, they're like popular in my mind.
Yeah.
But they're not. Just a lot of cool videos and visual stuff. I went to see them in New York at Poisson Rouge.
The Poisson Rouge, great venue.
Yeah, and they were playing, I'd never seen that setup. They were playing in the middle of the room. I don't know if you
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was really mind-blowing. So, yeah, we hung out also a little bit that night. There were nice blokes from Canada. I don't know why I said blokes. And
There's still blokes. Now, you know what I mean?
Canadian blokes, as they say. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. So we're gonna play some Velvet Underground now, which I know you and I both love the Velvet Underground and Lou. And I want to talk to you. So, did you ever get to actually spend any time with Lou or John Cale or any of those folks?
A little bit with Lou Reed. We did. I mean, I had met him when I was a kid at a book signing. I kind of. Anyway, but
what was that like? What was that? Was it?
He was super eccentric and weird, and I didn't really understand anything he said, and it was cool. And it made me get his book, which I wouldn't have gotten, and realize what a mind-blowing lyricist he was. Because you almost don't notice it because it's such a kind of easy-sounding talking thing.
Yeah.
But it's actually amazing poetry, probably, arguably, like even as good or better than Jim Morrison. They are kind of weirdly like East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah.
They're not really given enough comparisons or something. But
Yeah, and it's weird because Lou did not like Jim because of the times that he met him, at the factory and stuff.
Well, that's not surprising. Lou Reed.
Yeah, but that was probably because they caught him on a major insane evening or something like that. But it was also, you're right, it was the East Coast, West Coast thing, I think, probably for some of that, the New York thing. LA maybe back then. But so after that, did you meet Lou later on?
We did an interview with him once, but it was the whole band. We also did a song with him, and we did Walk on the Wild Side. And so I'd seen him a little bit, and he was, it was great. I think I was so, honored and humbled and looked up to him. So I think he was, I think it's like if you recognize his genius, he's like cool with you.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely.
And I wasn't trying to kiss his ass. I genuinely see it as the truth. So, I was saying, I think we could do a show on the Velvet Underground too.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's such a, they touch so many things. They do like the '50s thing. They kind of have even like the '60s. I'd call it now like Wes Anderson music thing, and even deep into his career. Like Walk on the Wild Side and. Whatever.
Yeah.
Perfect Day. I don't know. Just there's probably like 15 to 20 songs that you could just get like obsessed with, and so yeah, I'd almost prefer playing like 20 snippets. But
yeah, we'll have to do something like that and prepare it in the future. We'll talk about it. But
and just the heroin, like just the next level future. I don't know if the end came after heroin, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's actually Yeah, they were right out. They were close to the same time, which is pretty crazy. They were very, very close. But I think heroin might have been first. I think, But I think the thing that's really crazy about it is it was those, approaching those dark subject matter that no one else would even get near at that period of time. And I think it's interesting. Yeah, Lou was great. I mean, we didn't meet until he was on 120 Minutes, but then we became friendly. And, my brother had the Velvet Underground's third album, and we had Transformer, and then and I got some others, and then of course I did a deeper dive and became a big fan of Lou's. But he was a cool guy, but he was one of those guys. The story. He didn't suffer fools gladly. Like somebody was trying to interview him, and our friend Hal Wilner, who passed away. He was the music coordinator supervisor for Saturday Night Live for many, many years, and he and Lou had a radio show together on Sirius XM when Lou was alive. And Lou wanted to take it over to RXP, my station in New York that I was on, because Lou, he called up and said, "Hey Matt, I'd like to talk to this guy." So it was, but he was interviewed about his radio show on Sirius XM, Julian, and whoever the interviewer was asked him, "Oh, well, did they give you stock options or so?" And he went, "I'm not here to talk about my finances. So F you," and he literally got up and walked out. I love the stories about Lou. He doesn't suffer fools gladly. He would just get out of it. He would get out of the situation. But he was very kind to me, and I went down and when they did the thing with the Killers with Tantalize the video, and he said to Brandon Flowers, he goes, I like Matt because Matt's trustworthy. And that was a very nice compliment, you know?
Well, he's such a great artist and so underrated.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of understand his frustration.
Yes, no doubt.
So, you know.
And isn't Rock and Roll, this is one of the great songs. This is a song you picked we're going to listen to from Loaded.
Yeah, I mean, it was, again, it's almost like one of the earlier ones I got into, so I just thought, something, it's obviously not for the deep dive for the hardcore Lou Reed fans. It's more, actually, it's funny, we're talking about the Doors. I think maybe Heroin from the Doors movie, it was on the soundtrack, Oliver Stone. I think maybe that's the first time I even heard them.
Yeah.
But I think, Rock and Roll, Sweet Jane, was it Candy Says? I think Loaded I got into, and so I think I didn't realize it was like the same band, I think, even at first. But that's just one of the, it's like a generic sounding 60s song. And I don't know, I just thought maybe a good kind of...
Yeah.
So it's not like, check out, because people always, Venus and Furs, or like, they want to, like, weird, dark. But
yeah. But you're like me. I mean, if a song's great, it doesn't matter whether it's really well known or whether it's not well known.
I just thought I'd play the kind of most middle of the road Velvet Underground song.
And I think it's good because, somebody listening who may not really, younger, who doesn't know this stuff yet, might make them do a deeper dive.
Yeah.
So that's the cool thing to do, is to just turn people on to music.
That this was like their pop mainstream song, and then their super, we could play Candy Says or something, or some weirder, or Heroin, probably too long.
Yeah. But we'll start with this, and then we'll pick some other stuff. But I'm excited to have you here. It's Julian Casablancas. We're in the studio. We're celebrating the release of the brand new album from the Voidz, and I like, so, how many times I've told you that you have one of my favorite Christmas songs of all time with Christmas Tree? I know you laugh, but we were like, I'm like, dude, your Christmas song, Julian. I love that. I pull it out every year, no matter where
Sands
I am.
And Jimmy Fallon, they wrote the song.
Did they? They really did?
Yeah, it's SNL,
I had no idea. I did that. I did the ASCAT thing with Upright Citizens Brigade in New York City, and Horatio Sands and those guys were all on it, and they were all doing skits. I was like telling stories, and they were doing skits around my stories, and I had no idea he did that.
Yeah,
that's really cool. That's great. Well, in the meantime, though, we're going to play some Velvet Underground. You're listening to SoCal Sound. I'm Matt Pinfield in the studio with Julian Casablancas. Julian Casablancas right there covering the Velvet Underground and Lou Reed's Venus and Furs from the vinyl, the short-term series. Vinyl. Is that my phone playing? Oh, it's playing your voice record. See, look at that. It's like, it knows. It has a mind of its own.
That's really funny that I said Venus and Furs before that. I didn't know you were going to play that. Okay, so I can explain if that, because it's so accurate. Probably it's not. You do a cover because you have an idea for changing it or something. They asked me to do this for this show, and it's because the Velvet Underground were going to play live in the show, and they wanted to show it. So I didn't do it for any other reason other than I knew anyone else was going to butcher it.
Yeah.
So I just did it as like a posthumous favor to Lou Reed to be like, let me just like represent you in a cool way in this movie or this show or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason. So I went there, and all the musicians, everyone was great, and they were kind of, I don't know if they hated working with me or what, but I had to kind of get in there to make it actually kind of, because I guess I professionally kind of sound like old-timey for a living.
Yeah.
And these were all like, the top of the line modern cats, and so it sounded pretty like, clean and so I really had to get in there and kind of make it sound like authentically old, and just do like my best Lou Reed impression.
I think you did a great job on it. It sounds amazing. It sounded like
the most straightforward cover, but yeah.
It was cool that you did it, though. Was it was it one of those things that were you supposed to do more than one song by the Velvets?
I don't know. I think the show maybe didn't last very long. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I remember when he died, I wanted to maybe, say something. I don't know if people were going to speak at his funeral or whatever, but I think there was no room or something. I was told that. So again, I was just trying to do like a nice gesture.
Yeah, and I think it was cool that you did. I mean,
I didn't like put it out as a single or anything. It was just
I was happy that I found it on that soundtrack. It was great.
Sleuthing.
Yeah, I was sleuthing.
Nothing
And you know what?
escapes you.
So I do this thing called Cover Me in this hour, usually around like 4:30. But I'm going to do it with you today because it's I'm going to play one of your covers as soon as we get back. But first, I just want to tell you we're in the studio. It's Matt Pinfield in with Julian Casablancas. We're celebrating the release of the brand new Voidz album. And don't forget, you should go see them play. And they're playing on the 16th at the Orpheum. But in the meantime, we're going to take care of some stuff, including telling you all about our year-end bash, which is coming up. So we'll be back in a couple minutes.
Cover me, I'm going in.
I'll cover you.
Going in. Cover me. I'm going over there, Frank. Cover me. I'll cover for you. Cover me! I'll cover for you. Cover me! I'll cover you. Cover me. Cover me! Cover me. I'll cover you.
And it's a special edition of Cover Me. We do this every weekday around this time, this half hour, of course. And we play a cover you may not have known was a cover, and it could be well-known or obscure. It could be deconstructed or very true to the original. But it's perfect to do it today with this one because I love this cover. And since my guest is Julian Casablancas of the Voidz and the Strokes, this is a cover that I love that you had as a B-side of the End Is No End. So can we talk about Clampdown, this version? I love that you guys ended up covering this track. Tell me, and I saw you also do, by the way, we were both involved, every year I would co-host the lymphoma, cancer benefit concerts for Joey Ramone on his birthday at Irving Plaza, and while his mother was alive, while she was still alive, Charlotte. So, and the one year, you guys, I was standing on the side of the stage, and you guys did Ramones, It's Not My Place in the 9 to 5 World, and you guys were explosive. It was the most incredible version. You guys were like, I was like, wow, I'm glad I'm witnessing this. But tell me about Strokes deciding to cover The Clash, and tell me about your relationship with this band and as a fan.
Fan of the song. We were doing it live for a while. I had met Joe Strummer.
And what was that experience like?
I mean, it was just after. It was like a loud bar, awkward.
Yeah. Was there a lot of craziness that night, too? Because I think
it was a Troubadour.
Yeah.
There's like a photo of it. I don't think I would remember it if I didn't see the photo, honestly.
I had those nights. Many of them, which is why I'm sober 4 years now.
It's just always awkward when you meet, someone that you're just like, okay, I don't know how to, I don't know. Where do you begin?
Where did you first become familiar with The Clash?
Honestly, as a young child, I think they're kind of like hits that maybe I don't love, kind of infiltrated into my consciousness first, like Rock the Casbah and like whatever those songs.
Like Should I Stay or Should I Go?
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of got it. I got to them later.
Yeah.
Obviously London Calling is cool, but I think I just got into them later, and then that was just one of their kind of just a really cool political song, I guess, like a protest song. There's not many of those, like beautiful, powerful, universal, and political. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing about Clampdown. It's just and as a whole, London Calling's a great album. It really is. It's an interesting, it showed the boundaries that you could push in punk rock at that period of time. It didn't just have to be totally uniform with, 3-4 chords and, 4/4. There was a lot of different things. And they helped, it's true. It was Elvis Costello hearing their version of Police and Thieves by Junior Murvin, which wasn't that old a song when The Clash covered it. And they were just needed material for their debut album, so they were running through it at rehearsal. Ended up on that album, Elvis Costello heard it and wrote Watching the Detectives. And then even Andy Summers was saying at the Elvis Costello, remember that spectacle show that Elvis Costello used to shoot at the Apollo? He used to have like this show that he used to do. But, Sting and the Police were on there, and they were talking about...
We're playing the Apollo, but no.
Yeah. You are playing?
Yeah, on the 18th.
Oh, that's going to be... So 2 days after you play the Orpheum.
Yeah.
There. That's going to be cool. A lot of great
we
people.
Could probably do a
stage.
show on The Clash, too.
Yeah. So we'll have to do that. That'll come up sometime soon.
Should
But
we just do like a 20-part docuseries on all these bands?
yeah, I think we are. So I'm going to play this right now for Cover Me today.
Yes, Clash.
right.
I mean, they're also up there.
Yeah, they're so great. So we're going to play it right now. This is
Heavyweight.
The Strokes and their version
Obviously.
of Clampdown right here on the SoCal Sound. And there it is, the Voidz from Like All Before You, the new album. And it's called Seven Horses on the SoCal Sound. My name is Matt Pinfield. I'm in the studio with Julian Casablancas, and we've been just discussing music, hanging out, playing music, and we're listening to a lot of really cool stuff that, of course, he's been involved with from the first album, Strokes album. We heard Someday, and we heard the cover of Clampdown that you guys did for Cover Me today. But, Julian, it's... tell me about that song, Seven Horses, because it's a really cool track.
I think the chorus.
And here, see now I'm playing it here too. Oh no, that's the overture. So here we go. You ready?
Yeah, the overture is actually funny because I was watching Gone. I'd never seen Gone with the Wind, and it starts with like those old movies used to start with an overture. I think the just it started as a jam on stage. I think at Soundcheck or something, and so the lyrics kind of just happened. So I think we built it around that. And yeah, I really tried to take out that like reggae. I think that's me playing like the chick chick chick. But the thing is, the drum take was so good because Alex is so good, and we tried to redo the drums, but it just never had the same, just kind of magical vibe. So I apologize that that's in there. That's me ruining it. But the drums are so good.
I don't think you ruined it.
Well,
I think it's cool,
yeah,
you know?
I don't know.
But I'm glad that we got to, and I want to mention to everybody, now the new album is out. It's so great that it's out. Like All Before You. And you got to go see the Voidz play because it's happening. It's on the 16th, and it's at the Orpheum in Los Angeles. So you got to go down and check out the show. You're picking.
I think it's sold out, but
It is, yeah. Well, if it's sold out, then maybe, who knows? Maybe they'll get another chance. We'll keep them posted on what's
Be back.
happening. But so can you tell me about, we both have a huge love for Phil Lynott and Thin Lizzy. And
oh yeah,
yeah, so can we, I love that one of the songs you picked was cool because you picked it off his second solo album called the Phil Lynott album. And he's just one of the most underrated guys in so many ways, you know?
yeah. They're one of those bands to me that I felt the same way about Queen before Bohemian Rhapsody came out,
Yeah.
the movie, because I knew how many kind of great songs that they had. They still kind of left maybe just one. They got most of it right in the movie. What was it, like Breakthrough, I think, was the one song that maybe they left off that I thought was like a cool song. Queen song. Anyway, but yeah, I think Thin Lizzy have the same thing. It's just they're, boys are back in time. Boys are back in town. I
Yeah.
can't say that.
Yeah.
I think just kind of like pulled so much gravity of attention, and people don't understand that that's like their 10th best song,
Yeah.
and that they just have so many great songs. And yeah, it's a shame, but I think their time will come.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I got to see him twice with Phil.
That's insane.
Opening, I went to, as I was saying, I've said it before on the air, and I saw Queen do Night at the Opera at the Beacon Theater, which is a small theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that blew my mind as a young
Also
kid.
insane. I was saying you probably ruined you for life.
Yeah, it made it really hard to, like, you had to compare everything to that after that, which is kind of unfair, right?
Yeah.
But at least I got to see Bowie that year too, Station to Station, and Aerosmith do Rocks and things like that. Bad Company, Straight Shooter Tour. They were all around the same time, but I will say,
Did they play Bohemian Rhapsody?
yes, they did, but they split it up.
Okay.
So like it was weird because they ran tape of the opera part, and they actually projected the video they'd already shot onto like a big timpani screen drum
The
type.
thing from like Wayne's World. The four heads.
Yeah. So they did
Or
that.
from the video, whatever.
Yeah, so they showed that, and then they broke up the song. But they started with that operette part, and then they also went into Now I'm Here, which is great from Sheer Heart Attack. But then the next year I saw Thin Lizzy opening for them because Phil Lynott had hepatitis, and he couldn't finish the tour for Jailbreak, so he never really got to tour for the Boys Back in Town. It was like a bad luck thing. And then he came back when they were doing Day at the Races, like Tie Your Mother Down and Somebody to Love. And by this time, Queen were big enough to play the Garden, so that's the first time I saw Queen, 76, or no, 77. And then I saw Thin Lizzy again in 78 doing Bad Reputation at that great New York venue called the Palladium, where the famous Clash picture was taken of the smashing of the bass. But tell me about, I love that you picked this song, Old Town,
that you saw
from
live.
Phil. Oh, yeah.
And have tattooed on your arm.
Yeah, I do have his tattoo. I do have the Paul Simonon tattoo on my arm. You know, it's funny. I was always thinking, well, what?
You mentioned this iconic moment in passing.
Yeah, it was a beautiful thing because it was a really important moment. And you know how a lot of important moments you don't realize how important they are when they're happening, and you're in the moment. And then you look back in time and go, wow, that was a really special thing.
And didn't you say that she almost threw the picture away?
Yeah, Penny Smith who took that photo on the cover of London Calling, she was going to toss it out. She almost didn't show it to the band because it was blurry. And she said she still doesn't think it's her best photo. She's like, wow. No, it's not my best photo. She said she was trying to duck from some of the debris. She was afraid the guitar stuff was going to bust off his bass and hit her in the face. So, and I'm glad it didn't. But yeah, it's just an incredible thing. So yeah, I have the tattoo on my arm of Simonon of the shadow, and believe me, I'm not alone because I met like 25 people that have also done it. You know what I mean? It's not.
Well, you saw it though in person though.
Yeah,
how many saw it?
Yeah.
You probably went up when people show you. You're like, oh, that's cool, but were you there?
Like it was. Actually somebody reached out to me on social media this week and said I was at that show too, and I thought that was really cool.
But they don't have the tattoo.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll get one now. Sorry. But no, so go back to Phil.
You win. They lose. I'm sorry.
Man, it's funny. I'm just grateful that I got to see that. But Thin Lizzy, I love that you picked them. And as I said, I was in that restaurant Jones. I took my daughter out for her birthday with a couple friends. About a week ago, my girlfriend, and all of a sudden this Thin Lizzy song came on the jukebox in there, and they always play great music at Jones. I heard Angel from the Coast from Jailbreak, and I heard that riff start, the guitar part, and I went, it's just like it's embedded, blueprinted in my brain from being like 13, 12. And but tell me about you in this song. What is the thing? Would you agree with me? There's just something special about. They were people will think of them like you said about like Boys Are Back in Town, or think of them as this kind of in this hard rock, But there were so many layers to what they did. He was a great poet. They did so many different things, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just discovered songs over time. I listened to the radio a lot. Like, I have a one rule in life. It's listen to the radio below 92.
Yeah.
So that works.
And it's great. So that's why, and I loved it when we ran into each other. You're like, Matt, I've been hearing you on SoCal Sound. And I love that you listen to the station because it's I'm so honored to work here with all the people that are here because they're all great, But tell me, so I love that you do that. So that's where you discover music.
Yeah. So, and I think that's where the best kind of curators and weird, different, eclectic shows. But just over the years, I've just, heard so many weird, unknown songs to me that were Thin Lizzy, and then I think I started diving deeper on my own, and just there's just like it's rare to find a artist that consistent where a group or artist that have that many great songs. So we should also do a show on Thin Lizzy. Yeah,
we're going to do that. Absolutely. See, we're taking notes about our new long form podcast docuseries. It's going to come out here through the SoCalSound.org. Let's check out why.
If the money's right.
Yes.
I'm just joking.
So, you picked this song, Old Town. Tell me what you love about this song.
I mean, it's just so not Thin Lizzy, and there isn't the dueling guitar. I mean, actually, there is a guitar thing. I think it's a piano solo. It's just not Thin Lizzy sounding, so you just can't go, oh yeah, Yeah. And it's great, and it's keyboards and Phil Lynott.
Yeah,
I've heard.
Yes,
both.
well, listen. Yeah, so it's Phil Lynott. I've heard that I'm almost positive that Frank Murray, because I went to his grave back in 1992. I was there. I was at a Frame show, and I was there first to do something with U2 when Zooropa came out. So I was in Dublin. And the guy, I was at this bar, the Frames, Glenn Hansard and those guys, and the guy, the director who's done Sing Street and all that stuff. And there were people hanging out, like that producer, Denny Cordell. My friend Steve Leeds goes, Matt's a big Thin Lizzy fan. This guy looks at me, this Irish guy, and goes, you serious about that? Or I just said, hey, I always said I'd visit Phil's grave if I came to Dublin. And he goes, are you serious about that? And I said, yes, I am. He goes, Phil was my best friend. I'll pick you up at your hotel in the morning. And he came and got me, Frank Murray. He was Thin Lizzy's tour manager. He was the Pogues manager in the early years of Shane MacGowan. And he picked me up at my hotel and he brought me to Phil's grave and then to Phil's mom's house. And she still had a jukebox and all his records and pictures of him and Brian Downey, the drummer, when they were like 16. So it was really a pretty amazing thing. But I heard Phil Lynott. I heard Phil Lynott. But I'm almost positive that she said Phil Lynott to me, and I've heard it. And I used to call him Phil Lynott, and some people call him Phil Lynott. So it's been pronounced like 5 different ways.
It's like New Orleans.
Yeah, it's right. New Orleans, New Orleans, Nolans. Yeah, so we'll play this right
New Orleans.
now. There it is. That's probably what I called it the first time I saw it, right?
I don't.
Guy from Jersey. Here's Old Town. This is Phil Lynott from the Phil Lynott album, or Philip Lynott album. It was his second record that he put out solo right here on the SoCal Sound. It's Matt Pinfield in the studio with Julian Casablancas on a Friday afternoon. You Only Live Once, the Strokes right there. And I love that song. And Julian, before that, I'll Try Anything Once. That was really cool that was that show you did at Electric Lady Studios in New York City.
Live version.
And
first time we met, I guess. I don't know.
No, we met way before that, actually, I think. But, that was when first time we did something for that radio station, right? So it was...
Or we met at the Ramones thing.
Yeah. And we also met at a K-Rock thing. And I was sitting with you at a picnic table. Maybe that was after that. I was hanging out with you and Nick and Albert. And we were all, and Fab. We were all just kind of hanging out talking about 90s music, I think, at that point in time. Because you guys were telling me what the kind of like, watching me on 120 Minutes when you were kids. So it was that kind of thing. So it was, and that was at like Jones Beach. You guys were playing a K-Rock show for New York. Do you remember that now?
That rings a bad bell.
Yeah. You guys might have got a little crazy that night, but it was fun, and you guys were having a good time. But so tell me about the two versions of the song. Explain to everybody, because it's a really cool story about how you had extra lyrics, right?
Yeah, I mean, so that was the live version, but the more known or whatever, the B-side, I'll Try Anything Once, is considered to be like the original demo, but it was actually done afterwards because we needed a B-side, and I had all these extra lyrics for the song that I didn't use that I thought was cool. Because I had this kind of longer story thing in mind, but, we're making pop records here. And so I just kind of, it got shortened, and so, So I just did a fake demo. So it was a lie. I'm living a lie.
But it was
I'm
great.
here to confess.
But it was great when you did that. You did, for the solo album, you would come and done the show at Electric Lady Studios for the station no longer exists, but a great station in New York City called WRXP, and I was doing mornings there at the time with my friend Leslie Fram, and we would do the shows at Electric Lady, but it was so great because my daughter, that was the day that my daughter brought down her two friends, Wesley and Jeremiah, to see you play, and she's like, Dad, these are my dorm mates, and these guys make music, and I've been going to see them all summer. Sometimes 10 people show up, sometimes 5. Sometimes 30, and it was the Lumineers, We moved to Denver. But they were there because they were huge fans of yours, and it was a cool moment. And you were great that day. I mean, did you like that room?
It was interesting because, it was, there was like a lot of people there, right? There was like contest winners or something?
We had contest winners. So we would like do those shows, and if they weren't in Electric Lady, we would do them in the basement at Webster Hall. So we'd have... Spoon there, Cage the Elephant, Florence and the Machine, the National. Everybody would play. Yeah. I remember Florence came and played. She'd already had, I think, for her second album, and there were only like like 50 winners. It was really intimate. And I think for your show, it was probably maybe 50, 60 people.
Yeah, I think Jeff was actually playing.
From the Voidz.
Yeah, I don't know if he's listening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I don't know, it's always, you're just trying to make it good. I don't know, I don't know if I enjoy. I'm just trying to.
You mean like
trying to get out in one piece?
Yeah, I mean, in a situation like that, is it a little harder sometimes when you're under?
I remember Ian, my friend, he was working there. We actually ended up working together afterwards. He's a sound guy, a producer, and he did great sound, and I think so. We worked based on that afterwards. Yeah, those things, they get immortalized, so you're trying to do a good job, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it was especially, I guess the nerve-wracking part of it is knowing that it's you're just going in, you're doing it live, and you hope the version comes out good. But it did everything that day. It was really great.
It was fun, and you are a positive force always, so I think that helped.
Yeah, it was good. We had fun that day, and I just love that neighborhood too. All around that area.
The West Village.
Yeah, well, not all. Yeah, well, parts of it, absolutely. I lived all over the city at one point. New York Magazine, and that was because I was going through relationship issues. So I'd live with my partner, and then I would be subletting from a friend on Christopher and Bleecker, then subletting from a friend on Grand Street, then going back, then subletting on 8th and 50th. I mean, I literally had like 10 different addresses. It was kind of my nemesis moving around New York City. You can imagine it's not that much fun to move that many times. You know?
I mean, it's all the neighborhoods have something.
Yeah.
I lived for a short time in the West Village, and I found myself always going back to
the Lower East Side. That's
East
right.
Village. So I just live there now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that was my thing. Last time I lived in Manhattan, I did live way down by the World Trade Center, which I said I never would again because I moved there 10 days before 9/11 when I came back, and I was only in the apartment for 10 days before the towers came down. But
Wait, you were in there?
I was 2 blocks away on John Street, so I was like in that 99 John Street. I just moved there. My boxes weren't even unpacked.
Jesus.
And
I think,
it was crazy morning. My daughter was supposed to be in Battery Park Daycare. I've told this story in the air, but
I wonder if because I went to see an apartment. I almost lived right there. And then some guy under the building was like, "I'm going to eat your children," and I just thought, that's not a good vibe.
Yeah, that's not a vibe I would like either, especially since I had a young child at that period of time. My kids are grown, but that was nuts, Yeah, it was some. But I love the Lower East Side because that's where all those places were that we hung out.
Yeah.
Everywhere from Arlene's and pianos and the library. Did you ever go there and hang?
Yeah, it's still there.
I love the library. Great jukebox.
Yeah.
I'm sorry we're talking about East Coast places, but at least, if you're listening, and people do stream on the East Coast on a regular basis and all over the country here at 88.5, the SoCalSound.org. And I'm here with Julian Casablancas, and we're just talking about places from there because, I lived in the city, like I said, all over. So you lived in the West Village, but then went back because it was closer to where you were going out at night, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of stuff in Brooklyn these days now, and like Ridgewood. But, in terms of Manhattan, I think East Village, Lower East Side, still things, you end up getting drawn there, or Chinatown now, whatever.
Yeah.
Times Square, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived everywhere.
Sorry, LA people.
Well, it was so funny, though, because people...
Stop talking about it.
Yeah, but I will just say this. It was funny when people go, I go, "Where do you live?" He goes, then they look at me and go, "I don't go above 14th Street." People in the Lower East Side. But anyway, we're gonna take care of some business here. I'm gonna be back with more with Julian Casablancas in the studio today. I'm Matt Pinfield, and we are here celebrating the release of the new album, Like All Before You, from the Voidz, and they're playing October 16th at the Orpheum as well. But we're gonna tell you about a really important show that I would love to see you
As
at.
we close another year,
That's one small step for man.
1, 2, 0.
One Siam lead for mankind.
Welcome to 120 Seconds. I'm Matt Pinfield, and every day around this time, we focus on a video or a song that debuted on 120 Minutes on MTV, the Sunday night, late night alternative music show. And today, we're going to focus on, of course, a song from The Strokes, because it's very important that we do so. And the song we're going to focus on is Last Night. Let's talk about this. Julian, what was it like the first time you saw your video on the air? I mean, because I remember the video was so cool and the way you guys shot it. And can you tell me a little bit about that shooting that video in that almost boxing ring thing that you guys had done?
I think I just had a dream maybe, and I drew a thing, and then okay, so I was slightly anti-video in a way. I didn't want to. I felt like videos really changed the way you digest a song or think of a song, and so I wanted to do a live version of it. So actually the video is the live version of the song. It's not the actual album version.
Yeah.
Kind of did the same thing with Human Sadness, Voidz song too.
Yeah.
Where it's the video is not the album thing. You just do it live. So that the video and the album song kind of have their own thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I ever saw it on MTV at the time.
You were probably so busy running around, too, at that point.
I also don't think I had MTV at the time, just by chance.
But, I mean, you were over, you were busy because, I mean, things started to explode. You guys went over, the album was released in England, of course. The artwork changed, all that kind of stuff. And New York City Pops.
Yeah, it wasn't, that was the thing. The art changing was our doing. That wasn't.
Tell me about that.
It was just a cool image that we wanted to use, or that I thought was cool and wanted to use for the image, for the cover, because it was this kind of big bang science project, like a particle accelerator image that looked like a painting.
Yeah, almost a Pollock-like in some ways. You know what I mean? I love the Stone Roses covers before that. Things they would do. I wouldn't compare it exactly like that, but I just thought it was cool because it could leave anything to the imagination at that period of time.
Yeah, I think for us, at least for me, releasing something in England didn't feel almost as real or something. So
yeah.
The cover was it was fine, but it was just kind of. I think wanting to do it different in the U.S. was always on my mind. So people thought it was too controversial to have an ass, which I think is fine. Also, it had a Spinal Tap vibe.
Yeah, a smell the glove
yeah.
kind of. Which is great.
Yeah.
It's funny.
The New York City Cops was, that was a thing because, obviously 9/11 had just happened. And, we did a show or two. We kind of played it. It just... Yeah, it was kind of, we weren't feeling it. So
you weren't feeling like it was kind of it had a different vibe when you,
it was just right before there was the Amadou Diallo. It was the kind of, there's this anti-cop thing where they kind of assaulted and basically raped this guy. And it was just a lot of police brutality stuff going on. But then obviously, after that, it was just such a different vibe. So
9/11.
Yeah. And we had a different song kind of ready to go. So,
yeah.
Anywho, yeah.
But it's great. And so the whole thing with the intro to Last Night, an American Girl, right? Petty heard it and was cool with it, right? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean,
I always loved that because.
Yeah, I'd heard that. I heard that he enjoyed the fact that I just kind of. I think, I did an interview and someone was like, "Oh yeah, that sounds like." And I was like, "Yeah, we just," because it was an instrumental breakdown. It's one chord.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a pretty generic drum beat. So I think if he could have sued us, he probably would have. Is my guess.
No, maybe not. He was pretty cool.
Okay, yeah, I guess. Well, maybe it's Sam Smith. I think he sued, right?
Yeah.
Because for the you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Maybe but he knowing that you were a rock and roll band, he was huge. He loved
maybe,
rock
yeah.
bands. You know what I mean? I think it was like, yeah.
I loved. I mean, it's kind of like the Lou Reed thing. Is like, you know, one of the big bands was Tom Petty too. Just the consistency. His greatest hits was just a huge part of. It was just always around.
Yeah, it was great.
Something about his greatest hits record was really just kind of, and just how he kind of went from, you know, like Don't Come Around Here No More to, there was all these. He's just really like Americana.
Yeah,
must have.
He's an American treasure. He had that vibe, I think, because there were so many different areas that he could go.
Yeah,
and over a long period of years too. He was just, you know, one of my favorites. I remember trying to turn people on to him in high school, and bringing the first album to school and going, "You need to listen to this guy." You know, I mean, it was one of those records.
Yeah, the video for Coming Down a Dream, and
I
think so. I think there was so much love there that maybe it was. I'll be, you know, positive and probably delusional and say that he just felt that vibe. But yeah, I was asked, and it was like, oh yeah, just because I think we were trying to learn. You know, you do that a lot, or at least I like to do that exploratorily. You know, oh, what if we did a thing like that?
It sounds like that.
And you know, not so much for parts or main, you know, choruses or verses or whatever,
but for feel, right?
Just like breakdowns or weird kind of things that you hear that you almost don't understand what's happening musically, and so you try to figure out what it is. And I think that was one of the, we just tried it as a band. We were so early on, and it was kind of, you know, worked. And I think at that time we didn't expect it to even, you know, we had done so many demos and kind of gone nowhere for a long time. So I don't think we expected anyone to really necessarily hear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like best case scenario, we get sued by Tom Petty.
But I mean, it's great.
But yeah, just kind of stayed there, and I think we just didn't care. And then luckily he heard just kind of an obvious admission. Maybe if I had denied it and I was like, no, we changed a note, maybe he'd be like, fuck them. But
like Vanilla Ice and something like that. Yeah, let's play it right now from Is This It? And this is our special version of 120 Seconds Tonight, hanging out.
I think live we even, I think we did a cover of American Girl or something, and like we did like a transition once or twice live. Anyway,
and did a little of it. That's great. So here it is. We're going to play it right now. Last Night, The Strokes on 120 Seconds on the SoCal Sound in the studio with Julian Casablancas. All right, there it is. Last Night, song that never gets old for me. I love that track from Is This It? And it is it. We're going to play one more song and we're out of here. We're having a great time. Julian, I want to thank you so much for coming today. It was just, it was great to have you. You know, Julian Casablancas in the studio, and of course, you know, the new album is called Like All Before You, the new Voidz record. And, yeah, man, it's just really, it's great to have you hanging out with us and talking about music, because this is kind of what we do every time we run into each other, and I love that anyway, because it's like, what are you listening to now? Did you hear this record? And that's what it's all about, is, you know, sharing that musical thing. And that's what I love about the SoCal Sound and everybody on the air here, because it's all about sharing music and sharing the experience of that love for music and community and people. So Julian, when you on these Voidz shows, how many? I know you're doing the Apollo in New York, and you're playing the 16th. Are there going to be more shows after that? Are you guys going to go overseas? What's happening?
I'm not sure. We just kind of had 3 or 4 shows booked, and we're trying to do a residency in New York, like a kind of, there's this club. It hasn't opened up yet, but it was like an old underground kind of jazz club in the 20s, from the 20s to the 50s. Club 82, you ever heard of that place?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're maybe going to do that if that opens up, and that was kind of, but
it'd be cool to have you do one out here too. It'd be great if you did one on each coast.
Yeah, we might be doing, a secret warm-up thing, but no, I think we're just going to do these shows and then kind of, I think, go from there.
Yeah, but it's great though, man, and I'm glad I get to have you come in and spend some time with us here at the SoCal.
Thanks for having me, man. You are too kind.
You know what? I mean, listen. When I ran into you and you told me how much you love this station, that meant so much to all of us, everybody here. You know, so I mean,
kissing ass will get you everywhere. I'm just kidding.
No, you're not a Kiss head at all. Like, I wouldn't call you or Lou or any of the you know what I mean? But I think it's great. But listen, so we're going to play another track. We're going to go back and leave everybody with this track from Tyranny. Can you tell me about this song?
Oh, yes. First Voidz record. This was, I think, our first single, possibly, yeah. I don't know. I just let the music speak for itself.
Yeah, well, that sounds great. We'll play that, and I just want to say, tell everybody to have a great weekend. I'm going to see Paul Weller tonight at the Orpheum, and then be part of the T-Rex tribute thing at the Sunrose tomorrow night, and probably go to the Ohana Festival Sunday. I mean, there's a lot of things to see. There's a lot of music around.
Idols is playing, right?
Yeah, so I'm psyched about that. And there's
Cool.
Kim Gordon's playing, from Sonic Youth, we both love, and Kim Deal, and I think Breeders are playing, and
the Kims.
Yeah, the Kims, the dual Kims.
Have they ever gotten together? And
I know they've been friends. I did see Kim Deal punch a guy out though.
Whoa.
Yeah, at the that little bar. Well, and he deservedly so. The guy had patted her on the head. He was drunk. She was not having it after a Breeder show. She just clocked him, and she was talking to me. We were having like a serious conversation about the new Breeders, and it was after a show, and she was tired because So that little place, and maybe it's a number letter that's around the corner from Irving Plaza. It's got like a pool table in it, and it's a bar. Yes. So that's where it was, and she hauled off and
it's like connected to it.
Yeah, it's connected, and she hauled up and clocked this guy. This was in the '90s. It was like, it was wild, but I love her, and I think she's great, and I'm glad she didn't take any. You didn't have any right to be patting her on the head. That was not a cool thing to do.
You played a song by her before, right?
Earlier on, yeah. But
I was realizing how much Elastica sounded like that song.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it does, and they borrow Wire stuff, too. But I'm going to leave everybody right now. We're going to say goodbye with this. Julian, thanks for coming by and hanging out with us.
Bless you for 1,000 years. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great. Julian Casablancas, everybody. And don't forget to check out the rest of the new album from the Voidz. This is from Tyranny, the first one. It's called Where No Eagles Fly. Mookie is up next. Have yourselves a great weekend. I'm Matt Pinfield, and thanks so much for spending time with us here on the SoCal Sound.
Bye.